16 teams entered. Now just 4 remain.
It's Carolina, Florida in the East.
And Edmonton and Dallas again in the West.
It is conference final preview time on this Monday night Stanley Cup Playoff edition of Locked On NHL Game Night.
When that final horn sounds, you know it's time for Locked On NHL Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. Prepare to experience game day reactions like never before, only on Locked On NHL Game Night. Your team every day.
Hello there, hockey fans. Welcome to another episode of Locked On NHL Game Night. I'm Cam Stuart, born and bred Bostonian, but loving watching the Stanley Cup playoffs here on the Third Coast.
And I'm Tyler Feldman, a lifelong Penguins fan, born and raised in Pittsburgh, but currently loving life in Austin, Texas, just a few hours north, Cam, Dallas.
And they will be participating once again. The Stars, not the late great sitcom, or not sitcom. That would be a soap opera. They will be playing the Edmonton Oilers. Just a couple of oil places going at it for the second year in a row in the conference final.
Gotta love it.
And then two teams that look pretty similar out on the East Coast, Carolina and Florida for the second time in 3 years, not to be outdone by the rematch out West. We're going to get to those games. I know it's weird seeing us on a night that we didn't actually watch any NHL hockey, but we're down to 4. And Tyler, these are going to be a couple of fun series and maybe not ones that we necessarily expected in this round.
Not at all. And I just have to say, it's nice taping this when the sun's still out.
How about that? Did you believe that we could have that?
No games. We can do this early, get to bed early, get a good night rest. I'm excited to tackle these two conference finals. Of course, we've got to tackle how our bracket challenges look beforehand, just so everyone at home gets a feel of just how much hockey we really know.
Yeah. Well, Tyler, there's good news and bad news. The good news is you've got a new phone case. That's humongous.
I feel like in this, maybe let's not overlook this, people. A new phone case, a new screen protector. Think about it this way. I'm a little bit of a clean freak, but I was rocking with the same broken phone case and same cracked screen protector for 2+ years now. Think about all the times I've touched that phone, that case. Long overdue. I feel like I should be replacing these two things every few months. So shame on me. We got it done today. I feel like a new man. It's like another bar mitzvah in my life. It's just another celebration of just the beauty of technology and cleanliness coming together.
Well, that's the good news. Okay. The bad news is let's see Tyler's bracket here. Oof. Not a lot of winners in there, Tyler.
This started out really great in my eyes. Look at all those first round wins. The only first round series that I did not get right, where are we? Was Tampa, Florida. And of course, Florida's still in it. Every other series I got right, though, in that first round.
Are you sure? You had the Kings in there.
Oh, except for the 6 out of 8.
Two of the conference finalists, by the way, were losers in Tyler's bracket.
But I've got to tell you, Cam, if you're looking at this on YouTube, you're laughing because there's just a lot of darkness. Not a lot of highlighted teams. I had Carolina
old friend
reaching the quarterfinals, but that's it. I had Washington, Toronto in the Eastern Conference Final, and I had Winnipeg, Las Vegas in the Western Conference Final. Then I had Winnipeg beating Toronto in the Stanley Cup Final. So I'm about to cry. This is embarrassing for how much great hockey talk I feel like we've delivered, at least on my end, Cam. I did not deliver in correctly predicting anything. I was so down on Dallas the way they closed out the regular season. Edmonton, I was like, do they have the goaltending? Carolina, I just did not think that any team was going to have an easy time getting Washington out, and the Hurricanes beat the Caps in 5. And then I had the defending champs out in the first round. So,
to be fair, if we take a look at mine, I also had the defending champs out of the first round. Shows you what I know. But I
But
rocked with my Stars. I kind of
Yeah.
doubled down a little bit. We'll get into how we feel about this actual series coming up.
you did better than me. You did way
Yeah,
better. You got
look,
2 of the 4 Final Four teams.
I didn't want to say I just rode Carolina. I just didn't love Washington. And that's how I've gotten here. I like Dallas. I just kind of liked Carolina, but yeah, let's not look at the Vegas Tampa.
Cam, we've
final.
got to be better. We owe the viewers and the listeners way better than what we've produced here during this Stanley Cup playoff bracket challenge.
You know what? I think now that we've watched almost every single playoff game this year, and we'll continue to do so through the Stanley Cup final, I think that's where we start winning is next year. We play the long game with it.
And just for the listeners at home, who did you have in your Stanley Cup final?
I had Vegas and Tampa in the Stanley Cup final. So, I mean, to be fair,
I'm
those
laughing,
two
but
teams combined for one win in the second round.
Yeah,
So.
I don't have room to laugh, but it's funny just hearing it out loud.
Well, let's get to the teams that are actually here, Tyler. All right, we have a rematch from 2 years ago before we get to the rematch from last year, and that is Carolina and the Florida Panthers. Now, Florida went pretty easily through that one in 2023. They just took out the Leafs. They're feeling like the defending Cup champs, which they didn't necessarily feel like from the outside going into the Stanley Cup playoff, but here they are, 4 wins away from getting back to the final for the 3rd straight year. Armando Velez of Locked On Panthers gives us a look ahead.
The Panthers will meet a familiar opponent in the conference final. What is up, guys? Armando Velez here from the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, here to quickly preview the Eastern Conference Final as the Panthers will take on the Carolina Hurricanes, a rematch of the 2023 matchup as the Panthers won every single game by 1 goal. The first 2 in overtime thanks to Matthew Tkachuk, and Tkachuk ended it in Game 4 with less than 4 seconds left on the power play to send the Panthers to the Stanley Cup Final, where they eventually lost to Vegas in 5 games. And it's a lot of the same parts that are there for the Hurricanes, with a few youngsters coming into the mix, a new general manager, but Rod Brind'Amour still has the Carolina Hurricanes playing a heavy possession type of game similar to the Florida Panthers. So it's a clash of the same game. It's not the speed game that the Toronto Maple Leafs like to play. So the Panthers had to be on their A game against the Canes. We'll break all this down and more on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, your team every day.
So weirdly, that will actually be the first series that drops the puck on Tuesday because, Florida only played on Sunday night. But here they are, second time in 3 years. It was a sweep last time. How about this for you? He mentions in there Matthew Tkachuk was a big part of that series in 2023. How about him in that last series? No goals, clearly not all the way back at 100% health, but it's weird that Florida's here without that production from Tkachuk.
Cam, you say weird. All I was thinking about is scary. It's scary that he really didn't produce in the prior series, and now you have a guy who's delivered before against this team, and an opportunity for him to kind of awaken from that hibernation, so to speak. I'd be scared. I'd be scared if I'm Carolina, because this Florida Panthers team can win in so many different ways. Again, I said this on last night's show, though. I really just think Carolina's due. And I'm not throwing any stats out there, any numbers, any reasoning.
Because you did that with the bracket, so it's good that we're getting away from that now.
I'm going away from what did not work. Okay,
went too much with reasoning in the bracket.
Yeah, sometimes you overthink things. I'm not doing that this time. I'm saying Carolina is due. Throw the house at the Hurricanes. I really believe that Carolina under Rod Brind'Amour over the last 7 seasons, how they've slowly climbed and gotten closer and closer and closer. And now they have an opportunity to dethrone the defending Stanley Cup champions in the Eastern Conference Final and get back to a place that they have not been to in a very long time. It could be a very special series, and I know it's going to be a very exciting series. I'm fired up for this one. I'm taking the Canes.
Ooh, okay. Tyler already throwing out a prediction. I'm saving mine, but you're already throwing them out there.
Well, I didn't know how we were organizing the show, so Canes and 6. Give me Canes and 6.
Oh, man, that's getting me hungry talking about Canes. Anyway, Carolina, you can call them boring. You can call them lame, but you also have to call them conference finalists once again. I don't think a lot of people were like me and had them going over the Washington Capitals, but they made mincemeat of the Caps in that series. Zach Martin of Locked On Canes is feeling good going into this matchup.
One of the biggest storylines for the Carolina Hurricanes coming into the Eastern Conference Final is, can special teams still be special for them? 28 for 30 on the penalty kill, which puts them over 90%, which is the best in the entire NHL. Also 96.5% on the net PK because they got a shorthanded goal back in round one thanks to Jordan Martinook. Going in hand with that is limiting their penalties, because the last thing they want to do is give the Florida Panthers enough opportunities to burn them. Thankfully enough, though, the Florida Panthers are lower end of the 20% range in terms of the power play. So if the Hurricanes can limit their penalties and not give them any opportunities, then the Hurricanes should be in a good spot. So right now, it's basically limiting your penalties. And if you need to, shut them down like you have been, because if you're forcing Florida 5-on-5, the Hurricanes, who are a really good team in that aspect, has a legitimate shot of winning the series.
So Carolina, we've said it before, they can really throw Florida's game right back at them. I don't know if they can do it with the same kind of skill that Florida can, but certainly they are a team that matches up with them. I know you're a big believer in Rust, Brian Rust, but in terms of this...
Former Penguin.
But in terms of this case, where they haven't played in 5 days by the time they drop the puck, does that give you any pause for concern early in this series?
No pause. Too much strategy in that clip. We're going just trust in the gut here. Full on trust in the gut. We're eating the worst possible meal for you that you know is absolutely going to destroy your stomach, and you're still going to trust your gut to put money, to put the Canes into the Stanley Cup Final.
You're feeling really good about this.
This is like that vinegar-based Carolina barbecue. People sleep on it. Is it my favorite? No. Is it Kansas City barbecue? A little sweet. I've got a sweet tooth. No, it's not up there. Is it Texas barbecue with the smoked brisket and what people sleep on, the barbecue turkey? Real nice.
Very good, yeah.
But what I'm saying is a little vinegar-based barbecue here in Carolina. Maybe a little upset your stomach a little bit if you eat too much, that pulled pork, but it's going to be right. You still got to trust your gut here and go with the Canes.
I'm gonna give you some homework before the end of the show, because I'll come back to you on this. I want you to think about who this Carolina team reminds you of that's made a real run in the last, let's say, 10 years. Okay, I trust you. We'll come back to you for it later.
I don't ruin it.
Don't ruin it. Because we're going to talk about the Western Conference. This probably should be the Stanley Cup Final, if you're asking me. Dallas, Edmonton, second year in a row.
That's why you're not that's why you're not Gary Bettman. Okay, this is a Western Conference Final. Respect the East.
I'd be great as Gary Bettman. Anyway, let's look at Western Conference Final series and who has the edge in the second year in a row with that matchup. Coming up next on Locked On NHL Game Night.
But first, looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with wonderful pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you more than 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats. Those help keep you feeling fuller longer. Personally, and we've talked about this before, I love the no shells variety. It's clean, it's neat, it's orderly. You dump them in a cup and you swig them back into your mouth, and you just enjoy that clean, crisp, tasty taste of a wonderful pistachio. They're good for on the go too when you're busy. If I'm at my desk, at work, talking to Cam, need a quick protein boost at the gym, they're my go-to. But if you love cracking open every shell, you like to get a little messy when you eat your pistachios, and you like that satisfying crunch, then the in-shell option is always a classic favorite too. So get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more.
Back on Locked On NHL Game Night, Western Conference Final preview now. And for the second year in a row, it's Edmonton and Dallas. And it's tough to argue with how we've seen these teams go through the first 2 rounds. These are the ones that deserve to be here. These look like the Titans of the West right now. Sorry to Winnipeg. Sorry to Vegas. They didn't put too much.
Why are you apologizing?
They
Why are you
did not.
apologizing? Don't need to apologize.
I
Two
guess.
hottest
I feel
teams
bad
in the
for
West are in the final. As
And
it
that
should
is-
be.
And this has the star power that it didn't even have last year because you had Mikko Rantanen into the mix on this Dallas side of things. I thought, honestly, the Stars could have had that series done in 4 or 5 against Winnipeg. I thought they actually played with their food a little bit. I mean, they didn't let it go to 7. It wasn't crazy. But I think they could have been done with that thing, done and dusted even earlier than they were. But here is Dallas trying to get back to the Stanley Cup Final. I say back. It's been 5 years, and they haven't had fans in the stands for a Stanley Cup Final in 26 years. Or 25 years, excuse me. It's been a long time for these Stars fans to actually celebrate being in the Cup Final. Joey Erickson of Locked On Stars gets us previewed for how the Stars can get their revenge on the Oilers.
The Dallas Stars find themselves back in the Western Conference Final, and this year a rematch with the Edmonton Oilers, who knocked them out a season ago in 6 games. And there's a lot of fascinating matchups and storylines in this series, but what has me most intrigued is how Pete DeBoer is going to try to contain Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, and that depends on a few things. Are they going to be paired together on the same line? Are they going to be separated? Because each one provides a different set of challenges. But if they do a decent job of containing Draisaitl and McDavid, can they win the matchups against the depth of Edmonton, which has been superb so far in this postseason? It's not just Draisaitl doing the heavy lifting for the Oilers this season. So it's going to be fascinating if the Stars' depth can show up, and can Mikko Rantanen continue his domination, and can Otter and the special teams really thrive for Dallas once again to get over the hump into the Stanley Cup.
All right, so we keep saying it, second year in a row, Dallas, Edmonton, Western Conference Final. I want your pick in the third segment, Tyler. But tell me what's standing out for you in this series. It was a really good one last year. Edmonton won it in 6 games. But what stands out for you from the Edmonton and Dallas side of things?
Well, for starters, Joey Erickson is having an unbelievable hair day on this Monday. He is
back to
starting
Joey
off
the Jet, by the way.
If you are listening on a podcast channel, wherever you get your podcasts, you do not have the pleasure of seeing just the incredible hair day that Joey Erickson is having. It was honestly tough to listen to any word out of his mouth because the flow was flowing. Playoff
the Jet,
ready.
Man. The Jet.
He's ready. He is ready for the Western Conference Final. But bullseye with what he said. McDavid, Draisaitl, Pete DeBoer, how do you stop those two? Will they be on the same line? In the way in which both these two teams are playing right now, it has been exciting hockey. For me, I give the edge to Dallas. I'm not giving a pick, Cam. Relax.
Okay, all right. We will get some soon.
But having Otter just gives me a little bit more confidence.
Yeah.
Stuart Skinner, I mean, it seems like Edmonton has calmed down between the pipes and they've figured something out. And as much as I'd love to see Edmonton in the Stanley Cup Final, this Dallas team is red hot, and you've got Mikko Rantanen, and I'd love to see Rantanen take on the Carolina Hurricanes.
That would be special. That would be really cool.
That's the storyline I want.
Because that's the one he actually didn't want to, like Colorado, he was kind of forced out, but he didn't want to be in Carolina at all, which is pretty rare. Like a lot of guys like playing there and want to play there. So that's an interesting one. But yeah, with Edmonton, like Stuart Skinner was awesome in that last series. But I mean, we know that's borrowed time with Edmonton. I think the Oilers fans know it too. They got a lot of that last year. Stuart Skinner was great down the stretch, but you just know it could blow up at any minute. Oettinger, it's not going to, okay? And you look at we've been
Cam, what if it does? That'd be crazy.
I mean, it could. He was pretty good against them last year in the conference final. By the way, McDavid had 10 points in 6 games in that series last year. And we've talked about how he hasn't really been unlocked yet. You know, he hasn't been tied down like Matthew Tkachuk, but he hasn't really been unlocked yet. We've been very complimentary of the Oilers. Their depth, which Joey talked about there, their decor in general, like man for man, Dallas is better defensemen, but they've been so stout defensively, the Oilers have. And so much of this points to Edmonton in this series. But I do want to give a kind of a crazy one here. So the Stars have the best power play of any team remaining in the playoffs of the 4. Okay, 31%. That's pretty good. Edmonton has the 14th ranked penalty kill in this postseason. Like brutal, 67%. Every 3 penalties they'll give up, they're going to give up 2 goals. I know I'm a little fuzzy on math, but I know that's not good.
Way to crunch those numbers there. Thanks for explaining 67%.
Like wonderful pistachios. I crunch it down. They've given up 37 penalties in this playoff and given up 11 goals. So that's somewhere where usually you only see that like the first round. Could someone steal a first round series because their power play is so good? I wonder how much that comes into play in the Western Conference Final with how electric that Dallas power play has been. This is where you can have a guy like Mikko Rantanen continue to carry you, even though we're at a point in the playoffs where you really need to have secondary scoring. So that special teams is going to be just massive in this series. Massive.
I love how you say massive. That's
how you know I mean it.
That's great vernacular out of you on your side.
But anyway, we gotta pick who's actually going to win this series after the break. We'll give you our Stanley Cup Final, not the ones we had on the bracket, but our hedged bets Stanley Cup Final. That is coming up next on Locked On NHL Game Night. Locked On NHL Game Night. Tyler Feldman, Cam Stewart here. You've kind of thrown out a tease on who you have winning the East. So
Cam, do you know what's crazy? Do you know what's crazy, by the way?
A lot of things, yeah.
You know what's crazy?
This
is Locked On NHL Game Night. I just want, if you're still listening or still watching, hopefully you understand that there were no games Monday night, okay? I want to make that as clear as possible.
They're waiting for a breakdown in the third segment.
I want to make it clear. If you came here for a game breakdown, you're not getting it. Just know that this is now an Eastern and Western Conference preview show, okay?
Thank you. Thank you.
Right.
Appreciate
I cleared the air.
All right.
Onward, Cam.
And you've teased who you have winning this Eastern Conference series. So let's start with you. The floor is yours. I want to know why you like the Canes in this series and who this Canes team reminds you of. And I ask you that because we just are so used to seeing a ton of star power in the Stanley Cup Final. It's not like the NBA in that sense, but we're used to seeing that at this point now. And Carolina is excellent, but they don't have that. So is there a team that this Carolina team reminds you of from recent history?
Okay, so I said this earlier. I jumped the gun. I'm not going to apologize for jumping the gun because why should I?
Fine.
I did what I did. We can't go back. We can't reverse history. This is a taped podcast, but we tape it live. So just understand that as well.
Yes.
Canes in 6, and I said it earlier, but I'm trusting my gut. They are due to reach the Stanley Cup Final. I love how they just have a bunch of really talented players and don't have anyone screaming like they're Wayne Gretzky on the team. No Connor McDavid, no Mikko Rantanen, but they've got enough guys. Andrei Svechnikov is my personal favorite. Jacob Slavin, another one. 2 talented individuals. I like the Canes in 6. And who do they remind me of, Cam? I'm going with the 1979 Pittsburgh Pirates. No, I'm just
all right, maybe. Yeah. I really thought you were going to pull out like 79 Rangers there.
I wasn't sure where you
Davidson.
wanted me to go, and I was trying to teleconnect through. I know you're in Chicago, I'm in Austin. I was trying to see where you wanted me to go. It's a Monday night, man.
I didn't have an answer for you. I was just, I was trying to think. No, because I'm trying to think of like when the last time we saw a team. I guess you can go back to like the 1800s Golden Knights.
Maybe the 1800s.
That was
the late 1800 Chicago White Sox.
1892 Stanley Cup, first given out. Or 93, whichever one. I wasn't there. But like I was thinking of those 2018 Golden Knights. Like they were good for an expansion team, but they didn't have a ton of star power there. The Blues, certainly the next year, doesn't have a ton. You know, Ryan O'Reilly had a great postseason. Bennington kind of steals a lot of things for them. So maybe, but
maybe the 11 Bruins, they didn't really have much.
That honestly was one that I was thinking about quite a bit, but they're going to end up with like 4 Hall of Famers.
I know how Boston fans think. It's all egotistical. It's
but
all
they
about
were
their
scrappy.
team.
They were scrappy. They had a great penalty kill, you know? So I would love to pick Carolina in this one because I want it to happen. I want them to be there. But you already picked them, so I'm going to pick Florida. And I've picked against Florida quite a bit in this postseason.
It is odd
I don't want to be in Florida's corner. Can we not?
I know how much you
wanna be-
dislike Florida, so I love this. I love that you picked them.
I don't like the Panthers at all.
They play a great game, though. They do play a great game.
They do. And my man, Chris Knuckles Nyland, Boston native, but obviously Montreal great, said on Twitter yesterday or Sunday when they were playing the Leafs, he said, this is how they're supposed to play hockey. Like, this is how you're supposed to play hockey. And 95% of the time when I'm watching the Panthers, that's not the case. But when they cut out the shenanigans, maybe that's what it took, Brad Marchand coming in to cut out the shenanigans. They play a good, hard, physical brand of hockey that Toronto couldn't answer for. Carolina, I think, can, but that's why I think this is going to be a fun series. Like, when they're cutting out the crap, they play a really good, very tough to beat style of hockey. Carolina does too. That one's gotta go 6 or 7. I don't see any way that one's quick.
Yeah, I just love how you were so complimentary of the Florida Panthers. If we go back throughout Florida Panther recap shows that we've done here the past handful of weeks and listen to how you berate them for their nasty play, that juxtaposition has me laughing.
I believe the quote was the yellow, gutless way they do things out there.
Yes.
To quote Johnny Moe. But yeah, I have to give it to them at some point, though. I mean, here they are on the cusp of a third straight Stanley Cup final. And the thing that annoys me the most about the Panthers is that nobody can beat them. But maybe Carolina is that team. Western Conference, Oilers, a team, if I had to hedge a bet like last week, I probably would have put in the Stanley Cup final against the Dallas Stars, a team I had preseason winning the cup. Oh, man, it's all coming up Cam Stewart here. Tyler, who do you like in the rematch?
For starters, I see this series going 7. These
that
two
plays
teams,
into Pete DeBoer's hands.
It really does. It really does with his
Undefeated
success
in
rate
Game 7s.
in Game 7s, which is spectacular. I'm battling right now. Does Dallas stay red hot? Do they just continue to play exceptional hockey? They came in hobbling into the playoffs. They've gotten healthy. They've really have just been clicking in every aspect of the game. Edmonton has the star power, like really big star power in McDavid and Draisaitl. I'm going Dallas in 7, though, because of Jake Oettinger. It's the play in net. At this point in the playoffs, you need a guy that you can trust. It's not that I don't trust Stuart Skinner. It's just that I trust Jake Oettinger a lot more. So we're going Stars in 7.
Okay, Stars in 7. Pete DeBoer continues to be undefeated in Game 7s, and the Stars go back to the Stanley Cup final.
Now, I say all this with the caveat that I have picked so poorly. So we know how this is going to end, Cam. It's going to be Florida taking on Edmonton in the Stanley Cup Final.
For a rematch, baby. And that would mean that I would have picked both correct, because I'm going to go with Edmonton here. I've rode the Stars so much that this is such a stupid time to turn on them, but I'm a stupid guy. So the Oilers...
I'm glad you said it. I'm glad you said it.
Someone had to, and it might as well be me. Own it, get ahead of it. Not that my bracket was that much better, but I am going to roll with the Oilers because I look at everything outside of the net, and I think they have the advantage. Look, Thomas Harley's been incredible for Dallas, but that D-core has been so good in front of Stuart Skinner and Cal Pickard, whomever it is. Like, they suffocated Vegas, who I thought coming into this playoff might have been the best all-around team going into it. And again, we still haven't seen that real breakout from McDavid and Draisaitl yet. Their depth scoring has been terrific. Maybe you can throw on the flip side of that how much longer is that going to work for Edmonton? But they have really changed a lot to their play style over the last 2 years. It's a big reason why they got to the Cup final last year. I think they're going to do it again this year. I think it's going to be the same result as 24. I think they're going to win it in 6 games, which would be in Edmonton, right? Again, I think Dallas has the first 2 home games. Anyway, so I technically, by my picks, which is not exactly what I want to happen, it is going to be a rematch of the 2024 Stanley Cup Final. Tyler, you have got Carolina and the Dallas Stars. Good little...
Guys, check out my new phone case. You seeing this? Unbelievable.
Do you want to throw out a Stanley Cup winner while we're at it? I don't know. I'm on the final preview show, but...
Give me Canes or give me death.
Oh, I would love that. If we're being
Give me
honest,
the Carolina
I would love that.
Hurricanes to win it all. I want the team that everyone has talked about the least, that no one gave any hope going into these playoffs.
They're still not talking about them.
That's fine. We're talking about them. That's
Yeah,
fine.
we are. Yeah.
My gut has been saying Carolina for the last 4 weeks now. So give me the Carolina Hurricanes to lift Lord Stanley.
That would be the ultimate, like, dad standing up in front of the TV, just being like, you know what? Good for them. Good for them.
Give
And
me
if
a
they
little
do win
Petey
the cup-
Pablo, turn up Carolina. All right? Come on.
And if the Canes do win the cup and we're breaking it down on NHL game night, it's going to be a lot of good for them. Good for that guy.
More
Good
than
for this
likely,
guy. Good for Zach Martin.
more than likely, it's going to be everyone laughing at how stupid I was for just hanging my laurels with a team that was probably the 4th best in the Final Four.
And I'm going to have to break down a Stanley Cup victory for the Florida Panthers.
I can't wait for that. I can't wait for that if it happens.
It all starts Tuesday night, Eastern Conference Final. We will have the breakdown for you after the game because we are here after every Stanley Cup playoff game 7 nights a week, whether it's on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Do me a favor, if you're on YouTube, like the video, subscribe to the channel, tell us who you think is going to win this series, tell us who you think is going to win the Stanley Cup. Yes, Tyler.
Like, subscribe, and then when you do that, someone on Sunday Night Show said, "Hey, love this. I subscribed." I like the verbalizing that you subscribe.
Please
so
do
that.
Yes.
Like and subscribe and then verbalize it in the comments.
Please do. Let us know. And thank you for making the Locked On Podcast Network a part of your daily routine. One more time, after every Stanley Cup playoff game, we are here. You'll hear from your local experts and the guys like us, Tyler Feldman and Cam Stewart, on Locked On NHL Game Night.